around them, and they bowed down to them and provoked Almighty Yah. So they forsook Yahweh and served Baal and the Ashtoreths. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel. And therefore he gave them in the hands of plunderers who despoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies all around. And they were unable to stand before their enemies any longer. Wherever they went out, the hand of Almighty Yahweh was against them for evil, as Yahweh had spoken, as Yahweh had sworn to them. And they were distressed greatly. Then Almighty Yahweh raised up rulers who saved them from the hands of those who plundered them. However, what? They did not listen to their rulers either, but went whoring after other mighty ones and bowed down to them. And they soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers walked in obeying the commands of Almighty Yah, and they did not do so. And when Almighty Yah raised up rulers for them, and Yahweh was with the ruler and saved them from the hands of their enemies all the days of the ruler, for Yahweh had compassion on their groaning because of those who oppressed them and crushed them. And it came to be that when the ruler was dead, what would they do again? They would turn back and do more corruptly than their fathers, to go after other mighty ones and to serve them and bow down to them. And they did not refrain from their practices and from their stubborn ways. And the displeasure of Almighty Yah burned against Israel. And because this nation has transgressed my covenant, that I commanded their fathers and have not obeyed my voice, I shall no longer drive out before them any of the nations that Joshua left when he died, in order to what? To try Israel by them, whether they would guard the way of Almighty Yah, to walk them in them as their fathers did and guarded them, or whether they won't. This was mercy. When they made that golden calf, Almighty Yah was ready to start everything fresh through Moses. After he died, he had Joshua. But after Joshua died, what did they do? The same thing. Now we say, if you're doing the same thing, expecting different result, we call that insanity, right? But sometimes we can't help ourselves. We become slaves to the things that we do. But we are doing it by choice. That's the irony. We can't help ourselves by choice. We can't help ourselves in breaking the Shabbat in tiny little ways. We know what we're doing. We hear that still small voice, but we choose to go against it. And then we go through the whole process, the same thing Israel did. We go through trials and tribulations, we cry out, and Almighty Yah saves us. And then what do we do again? The same thing. Over and over and over. We've become servants or slaves to our own desires, to our flesh. But let's keep going. In Judges chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. Thus the children of Israel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh and forgot Yahweh their Elohim and served Baals and the Ashtoreths. And displeasure of Almighty Yah burned against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of the Cushan-Rathaim, sovereign of Aram Naharaim. And the children of Israel served him for 8 years. Now, I'm not going to go through it the same thing, but you can go on verse 12 and 14, Judges 6, verse 1, Judges 8, 33, 34, and 35. All those things in just one book are just some examples of Israel doing the same thing over and over and over. it's like they can't do anything but that. It's as easy, or it's almost as important to them as breathing. Disobedience. It's become second nature. They bear the consequence for a while, they cry about it, and through mercy, Almighty Yah listens. And only through His mercy for His great name's sake. In verse 25 of chapter 21 of Judges, in those days there was no sovereign in Israel, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. Now, there's two instances in Judges where that was said. I don't remember the other one, but this is the second time and the last time, as if to make an excuse for Israel. That, oh, we didn't have a leader permanently, like a king, that we would follow, that we would do what they told us to do, because they would have armies around them to kill us if we chose other mighty ones. So, what did Almighty Yah did? He gave them Saul. But was Saul any different? Or was Saul slave to something else too? In 1 Samuel chapter 18, now we're not going to go through the whole story of why Saul's line of kingship ended. He did at least two things. One was he offered burnt sacrifices that was not within his capabilities of doing. He shouldn't have done that. And two was he spared Agag. When Almighty Yah said, put them under the ban, destroy everything. And so when Almighty Yah took him out, He said, you're not going to be, your line will end with you. You're not going to have kings under you. And I will raise up for myself a man of my own heart. This is when Saul really became a slave to something. In verse 7, chapter 18, and the woman sang as they danced and said, Saul struck his thousands and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and this matter was evil in his own eyes. And he said, to David they give 10,000s, and to me they give thousands. So what more for him, except the kingdom? And from that day on, Saul eyed David. That eye there means to look on with jealousy. Now, we can say we're not like Saul, but can we really? When we see, let me use myself as an example. I got a nice truck, praise Yah. A very nice one for a good price. And then I saw on the news, 2024 Tacoma comes out. What does my eyes see? My eyes see, I want it. Maybe the same thing, huh, T? PS4 came out, that's a nice console, yeah? PS5 comes out, I want that too. Clothes that we can fill our closet 3 times over, throw them away, sell them, give them away, but we keep buying new ones. We see things that other people have, nicer houses, better food maybe, and we want those things. And we do whatever it takes, some of us, to get those things. Aren't we just then slaves the same way? Yeah. Because once all this is burnt up, do we actually own any of those things? We can't even hold on to them while we're alive. Because until you pay that thing off, they can come and take it anytime. But we still play the game. We still participate. Willingly participate. So by choice, we have enslaved ourselves to no one, or should I say, to someone else or to something else but Almighty Yah. And Maria said, if you serve other ones beside me, and we know he's a jealous Elohim, he said he will consume us. But we're still here. The world is still revolving. All for what? For his name's sake. For his mercy. But that's something sometimes we often just look over. That we just go on about our thing, and we sang earlier, right? We go on about our thing, not even minding that every breath we take is because his mercy is renewed every day. But we take that for granted. Yeah? We can be thankful, if suddenly we have a new job. We can be thankful if suddenly we get a raise. If our children do good and this and that. We are thankful then for a moment. But after a while, we want more. We just keep wanting more. So, in John 8 verse 33, now here's something that sometimes we don't realize. Maybe some of us until now. They answered him, they being the Pharisees, answered him, Yeshua, we are the seed of Abraham, and we have been servants to no one at any time. And how do you say you shall become free? That's what Yeshua is offering. Right? We've acknowledged that we ourselves are slaves, but Yeshua is offering freedom. And Yeshua answered to them, truly, truly, I say to you, everyone doing sin is a servant or slave of sin. Go down to verse 44. You are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you wish to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and has not stood in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he speaks the lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Now, they were definitely lying when they said, we are not servants of anyone at any time. Because who was ruling Israel at the time? The Romans. Who did they have to go before to persecute Yeshua? The governor. But they had the audacity to say, I'm not a servant to anyone. Now we can say the same thing. I'm not a servant to anyone. But then what do? Clock in, clock out. Pay the bills, pay the gas, pay the insurance, pay the house insurance, pay the mortgage, pay the electricity. We're not a servant to anyone, right? No one at all. Are we as close-minded? Are our eyes blinded as these Pharisees were? That we don't see the predicament we were in? Now, I don't want to just step on our toes, because some of us will say, well,